So, Gus, let's talk about this current clerk of the court race right now. We have Iris Martinez was the one who won the Democratic nomination, and we also have a Republican candidate. Her name is Barbara Bellar. She's also Dr. Barbara Bellar. She's also running for clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. Now, Gus, you specifically told me you were kind of undecided, and that your intention was to leave this particular category blank. And Barbara would like to come on the show and convince you that you should vote for her. So I just want to give you guys a brief background on Dr. Barbara Bellar. She is a physician, she's an addiction specialist, she's also an Army veteran, she's also an attorney. This woman has done everything in the community. She's a minister, she's an amazing person. And what I love about the commercial that I just ran is the fact that because she's a doctor, she can handle or process your court records with care. And I thought that was so brilliant. Of course, I came up with that. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Barbara Villar to the show. Hi, Dr. Villar.
Good evening, Gus. Good
Good
evening.
afternoon, Doctor.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on. So, Gus, when I told you when we talked earlier a few days ago, and I told you, how Gus felt, there are a lot of voters out there who feel the same way. They're not really familiar with this particular category, and the ones that are undecided. So, you have voters who will leave the category blank. So, what do you want to say about yourself, and how are you going to convince Gus to vote for you? I've already voted for you, so
Sure.
now you got to sell yourself.
Sure. Well. First off, I would beg you don't leave it blank. I'll give you the take home right at the beginning. That is, just punch 65, and we'll make it easy. That's the number. But why would you do that? Okay. Um, as she already explained, I'm the Republican candidate, and I was born and raised in Chicago, and I love the city and its diversity, and I am a licensed physician in Illinois, and also an attorney, and very proud to say I had the opportunity to serve. I'm a veteran major in the U.S. Army Reserve. Um, and I really chose to run for this office because for far too long, the office of the clerk of the Cook County Circuit Court, it's had a pervading persona of deception, secrecy, and investigations regarding corruption. I know for sure that I bring a breath of fresh air to the position and a foundation of transparency based on the highest personal and professional ethical standards. I'm nobody's puppet. There's no strings on me. I can't be bought. So I can just do the right thing, the ethical thing at all times. So, and I've also, I'm running because I've experienced firsthand as an attorney the redundant maze and difficulty that both attorneys and citizens, as well as pro se litigants, must navigate simply to obtain the records and understand the legal processes. So the system has to be further streamlined to serve the public, as well as increase education on simplified utilization of e-filing. And I'm especially attuned to a myriad of issues that victims of gender based violence must face when they're trying to assess the criminal or civil court system. There's been a history of vague and inconsistent policies throughout this court system. And I plan to lead many employees by example, just roll my sleeves up and treat each person needing to use the case information systems with the utmost of respect, patience, and courtesy. And it's going to be improved customer service at every level. That's the main objective. And I want to further streamline technology, reduce duplication of personnel positions, a lot of cross training, and looking at their functionings, and build just position pride and foster a dynamic team spirit. Now, I've kind of did a lot of research and thought on this because, as I said, as an attorney, I've been there and I know how difficult it has been to be able to obtain things just to try to achieve, a simple closure for a client. So, I pretty much have a, a game plan, uh, kind of a vision for what I would like to do, say within the first month and within the first year and within the first, 180 days. And so I should stop for a moment because I hope you're still with me.
Said a mouthful, Barbara. You said a mouthful. One of the things that we talked about, um, and one of the things that people have complained about the most was the fact that the criminal records are not accessible on the Clerk of the Court website. And that's one of your initiatives. You want to make that happen.
Absolutely. That's something that needs to be done right away. But they did the rollout in just one or two departments, and I guess it was such a debacle that they didn't advance further. So we have to have a chief information officer, maybe, and we have to introduce the Freedom of Information Act um, and get those records, so that they're accessible to everybody in the criminal and civil court system. Absolutely.
And also, one of the things that you also discussed is that you said that you were another initiative was to get the judges' uh, cases, their call sheet up on the website, so people will know what
Absolutely.
they can go, where they know you don't know where to go sometimes. So
Um,
let's talk about that.
yeah, people are just kind of lost. I think there's some papers posted on the courtrooms, and you go into the building, and if you just walk through all the courtrooms and look at the paper, I guess it's like, oh, here at least they have it on a digital board of arrivals and departures, but you have to go.
Maybe we can create an app. You download a court app to your phone. It tells you what judge, what case, all of that information. That'd be awesome.
Don't steal my steam. That's exactly where I would be going with it, of course. Because
Well, I mean, once you win, you're it.
But I mean, people are just standing there scanning, like, what room, where am I supposed to be? Oh, not here. So they go someplace else. Then by the time you check all of them, they're probably late for the appointment that was 7:30 over here. But in any case, all this has to be online. I mean, we got to get into the 22nd century on this to serve people's needs. It's no longer, what do you say, like your father's business. This is everything. Where's my cell phone? Everybody that's functioning, and, for better or worse, many of the people that are involved in the court system are probably in their younger years of 20s, 30s, 40s, as opposed to, I don't know, if somebody in their 90s has to go take care of a court thing. But so everybody is used to doing everything. I mean, I'm in medicine. I've converted a lot of systems over the years to see that we go to electronic medical records. And so, people can get everything about their health care. We just, all this whole court system has to be available on your app. There's no question.
And
So
I'm glad you mentioned that because we talked about the 18 to 30-year-olds are impacted by our court system the most.
yes,
And these are the individuals that we need to reach. It's very important. Most 18-year-olds are not thinking about the clerk of the court. So we have to reach these people because if they're impacted the most.
absolutely. And they need to know that all this is available on their cell phone, because that's the reality of how we live now, and especially how our younger generations are living. It's all got to be on the cell phone for them, and that should be
Right.
available.
So basically, you're qualified as a clerk because you can sort of bridge that gap with the youth of today and how everyone is accessing their phones and TikTok and all of this, So, but one of the things you told me that really touched me, you shared a story with me about a young lady who was a victim of domestic violence, and she was trying to get a restraining order, and there was some issue down at the courthouse with the records or something. Can you kind of go into details about that case?
Well, as I was telling you, she wasn't exactly my client, but I was at the Bailey Center that day, and they weren't really letting people in that day. And this lady was sitting outside crying, and I'd have to say I'm the kind of person that if I'm walking down the street and someone is having a problem or crying or looks like they're in trouble, I'm gonna go find out if I can help them in any way. So I just kind
Yeah.
of like, are you okay? And she just, that's all she needed. Then she was just crying because she said first she can't get in there, and then she can't get anything on the phone, and she tried on the computer. She tried every which way, and even her attorney. So she thought she'd come down there herself. What she wants is a restraining order or the copy of the order of protection because she has some little kids and there was domestic violence. But in order for her to be protected, she needs that copy, and it needs to also go to the sheriff so that if and when someone intrudes in her house, being the person that shouldn't, if she calls, the sheriff will respond. If they don't have that order, they're like, "There's nothing we can do. You don't have."
So problem, she couldn't. The order was nowhere to be found in the court records.
Could not obtain it, and it's either that they're so behind. She's not the only case, though. There's at least 200 cases like this of
So
women.
you told me that there's like a million cases in boxes somewhere that haven't even been logged online. That is an injustice.
There's a really great building somewhere on Cicero that they paid a lot of money for. It's a new building. I think they do share it with just not share it, but they've opened some space. I'm not sure for some women's organization, but I'm not sure about that. But in any case, they have over a million boxes there that need to be e-scanned. So, I mean, when you think of the waste of the space, the rent, the personnel, I mean, we just need rapid e-scanners and somebody's got to be in there. I'll go in there. I'll spend some hours. Let's just zoom these things electronically. And really that's a waste of money. That space and building can be used for community things, for much more profitable things than storing, antiquated records that should be e-scanned. Period.
Okay, now, Barbara, I want you to stop for a minute. So, Gus, you heard a mouthful. What's your take on this? I
Uh,
mean, obviously, we have a problem with these records, and we need somebody that's going to get in there and do it. And you and I talked, and I don't know Iris Martinez, but from what I gathered, she used to be either state senator or state representative.
state
She's coming
senator.
into this, and she may not necessarily have the qualifications to handle all of this. What is your take on
Um, well, I like. I appreciate you speaking about digitizing. That was something Jacob Meister had spoken about. That was a big plank in his campaign.
Mhm.
Um, you mentioned so would how would you approach this? Would it be in stages, a full out where you have these guys working overtime? Because I'm all for digitizing. I just need to know how would you go about it and
Uh, I
what the
think
stages.
I think I probably would be willing. Certainly, I would be there to see how can we manage this. And if we can get schools involved in terms of the law schools and some of the interns.
How
Um,
about retraining the existing staff?
oh, that also. I'm just saying there's about five different prongs of ways that we can tackle this and set a deadline. Like that's it. 3 months.
I gotta stop you for a minute, Barbara. Okay, because I gotta make sure Gus knows what he's saying. Gus, are you in favor of Barbara keeping the people from the last administration, or should she fire everybody and start over?
Well, well, I mean, let's be frank. We're not talking about the higher end echelons.
Yes,
Those
sure,
usually get booted with. I'm talking about the rank and file.
sure.
I'm talking about the
Okay,
folks because that was, like I said, Meister's plan was with the rank and file, retraining
okay,
those that you can, and then
okay.
the others will let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, that's because simply firing everybody isn't going to solve the problem either. The
I
idea is
Right.
you need
Okay.
somebody who has a background, at least that's how the rank and
And
file that has a
people she
background.
gets in, she's probably gonna need some of those people who were there because they
They
have
have
the
some
experience.
experience, but like I said, they're the rank and file.
said that. I never said I was firing everybody.
No. I know you weren't.
No, it had
Playing devil's
nothing to do.
advocate here. That's what
It
most
wasn't about
voters
you,
think.
Barbara. I know how Gus is, and I wanted to make sure he knew what he was saying. That retraining the people that are already there. Because I can tell you right now, some of those people that work there do need to go, Gus, and you know they do.
Right. But you know what I'm saying. When I say restructure, yes.
Right.
I still would kind of like to say that I'll probably come up with at least a 5-prong approach of how we're going to tackle this. But we have to set a deadline and calculate realistically how many people can be standing. Do we have the best, the fastest e-scanning? And how many people can we have standing there? And of course, we're going to first utilize the current staff. If you heard me initially, I'm talking cross-training.
Right.
This is not my job. Everybody should be able to plug in, because especially during the pandemic, did we find that, people didn't know other people's jobs, I'm sure, and that put a big fog in things. So the current staff, and I'm also saying, I'm sure there are some committed pearls of people that have kept that office going thus far. And so we're not coming in and willy-nilly like, okay, well, I don't know who's doing what, but you're all out of here. That's not the case. Who are the people that are the backbone, that are committed, they're invested? There's certainly decent human beings that are working there, and people that are part of the Teamsters, of 700 union and whatever. And so we'll probably negotiate a new bargaining agreement with them also. But yes, use the current people, and the ones that are off nuking popcorn, guess what? They can go do it at home, and the ones that it's not my job. So using the current people, I myself will put in 25 hours a day. I'm not going to, I'm a physician, but I can always go back to medicine. So my intent is to do this position full time. So I will oversee how that gets done, because it's a feather in my cap to be able to say to somebody in about 6 to 8 months, that's all done at the most,
But so now one of the things that Gus closed out our last segment on when we were talking about the primary is, the old-fashioned carbon. That's one of your initiatives as well, to get rid of this whole carbon stuff. Gus, we spent a lot of time talking about this, Dr. Bellar and I, this carbon situation. Why haven't they done away with the carbon? And we got to get rid of it. It's just too old school. It's Fred Flintstone. Barbara. So what is your plan for getting rid of the carbon?
I don't know. I'm going to get rid of my carbon footprint. That's what I'm going to do. I have stood at that counter and saw them, lick their fingers and put the carbon in there and this and that. It's ridiculous. It's like at school when you used to have that old paper cutter, or I don't know what those filchy films or whatever. I mean, it's just, 18th century. Anyway, of course, everything has to get digitalized and on the computers, and as long as we have good backup systems. And I hear we're paying a lot of money for a good backup system or two that are in unknown places that only certain people know what those, access codes are. So we can always retrieve. So I think we need to download, e-scan, get everything, and just quit with this baloney of carbon paper. Who does that? I mean, you may as well use toilet paper. Give me a break.
I just think it's an embarrassment, to Cook County that we're behind in that. There are other court systems who are using, who are digitizing. So we're supposed to be at the forefront of things. And when it comes to that, like Gus, what we were talking about earlier, we're at the forefront with the water, okay, but we're behind with the carbon paper at the clerk's office. So Gus, I want to expound on this and get back into this.
Yeah. Another question besides the restructure of the agency, if necessary, how would you work with other departments within the county, like the treasurer's office, or more specifically the clerk's office? They also deal with records and that nature and sort, if and when you have to.
Well, sure. As I said, we'd probably need to have a new or have a FOIA officer and a chief accessibility officer and a chief public service officer. But I was talking to somebody last week, and I mean, I'm medical director at so many clinics in the past, and I've been commended by the Army to run, hospitals and things like that. So I know that we spend more time in our jobs than we do at home. So what on your job, whoever you're relating to, it's like a good marriage. What's the key? Communication. So for all these departments, I personally have to increase the open, honest communication with all these departments, with the judges, know who's who, find out what their needs are, find out what's working, what's not working, and the clerks. I've got to roll up my sleeves and know everybody in that department. I think there's about 12 or 1,500 employees, something like that. So you have to show up at all these districts. There's 6 districts or whatever. You have to show up at all these courts on a regular basis, and they've got to see your face. I don't think the clerk should ever be in her office, to tell you the truth, because you got to be somewhere in that building, or you're at another court, or yeah, it's all communication. That's key with all the departments.
Okay, I'm back with you. I heard that's okay. So far, so good. Another question here, and it's sort of
Yeah, Barbara, he got kind of frozen here uh,
Okay,
with Gus. We want to try to get him back in here. We got frozen.
you're on the way.
Technology. There he is down there. Okay, Gus, I'm gonna try to bring you back in. Hopefully, it won't freeze up again. But if not, okay, because I think he has a couple. I told so, Barbara. Isn't he amazing?
Oh
He's
yeah, he has a lot of things at his fingertips, at the tip of
so
his.
knowledgeable. Did you see the first half of the show? You were checking him out.
I listened to the whole entire program.
It's just amazing. Gus, are you there? Okay, I'm trying to, because it keeps freezing up here. So let me see if I can get you back in here.
all right. Y'all see
Okay.
me? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see you. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, and then I have one other question, because she said in your profile you're an addiction specialist and that you would keep the expungement program. So on top of that, even though this is not a formal declaration of your office, would you work with outside agencies to help with the court dealing with individuals with addiction and or mental health, at least connecting them as a middleman to agencies that can help them get back on the right track if they want that?
Oh my goodness, I so appreciate you bringing that up, because that's one of my banner issues. I've worked in at least 50 prisons, and I know the unfairness of what's existing. And our poor prisons are becoming like not our poor prisons, the poor inmates. It's becoming just mental health hospitals, because we're not providing what they need. You don't just lock somebody up and then. So yes, of course, I would be glad to work with many agencies, and I think as a physician, I probably would have my pulse on some of the most profitable ones to be able to use for rehabbing and helping and assisting. I have a master's in public health, so I know that I can apply a lot of the data, statistics, information that I have access to, plus use outside agencies to help these people that are being incarcerated. And some, I mean, we have to catch up with the people that we have to expunge the records for the marijuana, in the past, get rid of all those. I mean, what are we waiting for on that? Yes, definitely continuing the expungements, and it's got to be a humane office. We're not just there to collect fees. We're there to improve the city of Chicago and its citizens in any way
I'm
that.
gonna start crying because you're talking about doing something that's above and beyond the clerks. Uh, that's not even really in their job description. So that's amazing.
But look, that's me. I would call myself a servant leader, because you said several nice things about me, and I'm a lifelong learner. I'm currently in Harvard getting a degree in social justice. I'm working on that. But the point is, above all things that you said, I'm a child of God, and my purpose each day is to not bury my talents, but how can I contribute to make things better in the world? That's all I kind of want to do all the days of my life, given the opportunity.
Now, Barbara, do you know much about your competitor, Iris Martinez?
I just know that she's in an organization that has for far too long caused all the corruption, the pay to play, that's going on in that department. Okay, there's 19 administrative positions. 18 are held by Democrats. I want to say, how's that working for you? Do you know all the investigations that are going on in different departments there? You can't keep up with it in the newspaper. They got the special purpose funds, the finances, everything's hid. Pay to play, you support somebody's campaign and you may get this job. There's so much patronage. I just don't know how much he's enmeshed with that. But it's better to bring in a breath of fresh air, somebody new who has affiliations and cannot be manipulated. Just, yeah, that's all I'll say.
That's one thing that
Wait, I always say dirty laundry always gets delivered. I don't have to do it. So
yeah, because you as an individual, you don't have any. So you would be fresh, and that's one of the things that, now that Dorothy Brown is leaving, that was part of her campaign. She was unbought and unbossed. And let me say this, even though Dorothy was in part of the whole democratic process, she really wasn't. She was more of an individual because the Democrats denounced her. So her party walked away from her, making her really an independent.
So what do you say about them,
Exactly. This is how you treat your own. You got to look at that. This is how you treat your own. How are you going to treat the people? And there are so many people in that office that are so uneducated. I have called down there, and there were things that they didn't even know. Like, how are you sitting right there 100 feet away from Dorothy Brown, and you don't even know something? I know something more than you, and I don't even work there. It's all about educating yourself and doing the research. So, but Gus, let me ask you, because I know that you don't necessarily, know Iris that well, but I know that you've worked with people who've worked with her. And again, if you can give your take on coming from one office, like if you're a state senator, it doesn't necessarily mean you're qualified to be the clerk.
No, that's absolutely correct. Well, that was my issue with Carbonargi and Boykin in the primary. They had certain experience, just not in that type of field. That's why I had endorsed and helped out Jacob Meister.
Well, if Barbara gets in, maybe Jacob can come and work with her. That would be awesome. So you're still undecided, or can we count on your votes?
No comment. It's an anonymous ballot. But I've enjoyed speaking with you, Doc. I appreciate that you've
let your your guide.
Yep.
Well, Dr. Bellar, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your platform and what your plans are. I certainly voted for you, and I wish you well with this campaign. We only have a few more days, and hopefully, a miracle can happen. But we're also preparing for what's next in your life in terms of running for office. I don't want you to become a career candidate, like you have some people that run for mayor one year and state senator the next year and state representative, So, we want to, pretty much stick with perimeters of this office. I've certainly learned a lot from you in terms of your plans. You seem to be well qualified to run this office. And I certainly hope that a miracle happens on November 3rd.
Well, we'll see whatever God has in mind. But I'm just want
to let everybody out there know, in order for Chicago to revive, punch the doctor on 65.
Got it.
Say it right.
Thank you so very much. And thank you, Gus, for all your input and experience. I'm sure we're going to have contact in the future.
Not a problem. Pleasure.
Watch the show, because Gus and I got to get to these other offices that are running in the general.
Great. Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of the evening, Doc.
Well, Gus, there you had it. I mean, you were asking her some tough questions, man, and she stuck in there. I mean, she answered your questions with no problem. I'm sitting back here like, what is he talking about?
But you know what?
awesome.
that's the signs of a good candidate. At least, regardless if she wins or loses, at least she came prepared.